people are enamored by criminals.
You don't have the right to go out and kill somebody and take, vigilante justice into your hands. So I think it's really disturbing to people across the country as they tune in and hear, people excited and saying there's joy from this. I think it's really concerning.
So that's from The Daily Show, basically doing a collage of, if you will, the celebration of Kyle, right? Rittenhouse versus, and what's being said about Luigi, if you will. I detest what The Daily Show did, Emille. I detest it from this perspective. That, again, I don't think these things should be put, and again, to me, this is what propaganda is. So it's a willingness to just say, instead of just calling out what's wrong, we go find a comparative thing to make ourselves right. Right. And I'm talking about that's what The Daily Show is doing in this case. I'm not, as always, I'm not on a side. I'm just telling how I view how that is bastardized, if you will, to highlight. Again, I don't think the cases are similar when, again, obviously acquittal, possibly for some of the same reasons that Penny, if you will, that you've already alluded to, right? I will say, having looked specifically into the case all the way into the public files and everything, I do think it was self-defense, but it's not why I have this take. Again, I think just the attempt to go make an equivalent just to call out the other side instead of saying Luigi in his manifesto has real issues that we can talk about. We could have that discussion without pedalizing or making him a hero in any aspect. Now, I get how someone who doesn't have time or pay a lot of attention could easily do it without much forethought. But for it to be done within our media is too far for me. And all that take I just saw was just a take to say, well, look at what they did. And I hate that type of propaganda coming to the American people when it comes to politics. I don't want to be arguing over whether he should be pedalized or as a folk hero versus having the real dialogue about what's going on in our healthcare system, which is what I want to do after this. But I want to give your perspective on why I completely disagree with what The Daily Show did in that situation.
So my biggest frustration with American news media is that it's for profit. And you will see me talk about this over and over again. At one point, the news media was about a public service. You rent these stations, rent the airwaves. They belong to the people as a payback in service as well as in money for that use of the airwaves. They should be presenting the day's events in a way that makes sense to the people watching. When The Daily Show does this, they're not a news organization, but to your point, them being despicable, it normalizes vigilante justice, right? This is the problem I have with this entire conversation. It normalizes vigilante justice. And the problem with vigilante justice is that, especially as Black people in America, it almost never goes our way.
Never.
It almost never goes our way. So Black people in America have suffered from vigilante justice for for the entirety of this nation's existence and before. So to have this conversation that legitimizes vigilante justice is all wrong. Here's what I think they should have done. They should have rightly called out, this is a problem, period. Period. And now, more importantly, the fact is that the Law and Order Party, right? The Law and Order Party has at one of its most important conferences, a hip hop introduction to a vigilante killer. You can't tell me that's not dripping with irony in and of itself. Enough irony that I can do an entire segment on just that part. Right? I don't need to say a word about Luigi Magione or how the left is doing this, because I'm going to condemn the left for celebrating a killer too. And again, if you go back to what I said earlier, the thing that makes him so important is he a harbinger for the pitchforks to come, or is he an anomaly that we need to rightly look at and say, oh my God, why would someone do this? But in either case, there's no reason to say, hey, look at the hypocrisy of the right. No, the right's wrong, period, dot, have a nice day. The left's wrong, period, dot, have a nice day. We should have conversations about why they're wrong. Because if we're celebrating vigilante justice, more people are going to think That's how they're going to earn their fame. And the last thing we need is people deciding by themselves that they're Batman